Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So last week I shared with you guys how I prepared for Dele C1 exam. If you haven't watched that video and you are also preparing for Dele C1, please go check that one out. And today, as promised, I'm gonna share with you guys my true experience on the exam day. So let me walk you guys through the whole process from 2 weeks before the exam. So about 2 weeks before your exam day, you're gonna receive an email from the exam center. They're gonna tell you the specific time and date of when you're gonna have your speaking test. So your speaking test doesn't necessarily take place on the same day as the written test. It can be on the same day, it can be one day earlier or one day after your exam day. My test was July the 8th, which was one day before the exam. So I arrived about half hour before the exam time, but that was not necessary at all because they wouldn't allow me wait inside the school and I had to wait outside of the school for like 30 minutes. 5 minutes before your exam time, you are allowed to enter the school and there will be a teacher checking your ID. And then as you know, the first speaking task is to read an article for 20 minutes and then you are going to give a summary of that article. There will be a teacher handing over 2 articles to you, but you can only read the title of the front page. Of course, you're going to choose the topic that you feel most comfortable talking about. And after you've made your choice, they're going to give you a piece of paper for you to take notes, and then you enter the preparation room, which you're going to share with a bunch of other people. Also here, you can take all the notes in the world you want on that piece of paper, but you cannot mark anything on that article that they gave you because you cannot bring that same article inside the exam room. 20 minutes later, they're gonna take back that article and you can take your notes to the exam room. The examiner is gonna ask you,
so which one of these articles did you choose just now?
And they're gonna give you that article again in the exam room for you to refer to. I think it's crucial that you go through the beginning of the summary like 2 to 3 times before you enter that exam room because I think it's very important to leave a good first impression, which is the beginning of the summary. So you're gonna wanna sound confident and as fluent and smooth as possible, and especially at the beginning of the speech. That's my 2 cents. I mean, after all, it's just a conversation. I think it's important that you make the examiner or the people that you are talking to comfortable. I don't think it's important to talk that fast, but it's important to enunciate and bear in mind that the speaking test is just like one of these 4 sections. So even if you don't do well in the speaking test or you think you haven't done well enough in the speaking test, doesn't mean that you're gonna fail it or you cannot pass the whole exam. So do not let what happened on the speaking test affect your mood. And then let's talk about possible situations that you're gonna encounter on the exam day. I don't know if what I've been through is something like normally happen or it's just luck. No, in each exam room there's gonna be somebody there watching the students, and that person, to be honest, is the only person that makes the noise. So I'm not that sensitive of a person, but the thing is, I sat on the front row and that senor watching the exam, he was just sitting right across the desk. We were practically sharing the same desk. All the tiny little sound that he made couldn't be heard by anybody else but me. Geographically, we were too close. I mean, I get it, it's super boring if you have to watch the students do an exam for 3 hours and a half. That senior, sometimes he would mark something with a marker on a piece of paper. And then sometimes he would write down stuff, and then I heard, I mean, when I practice at home, I would just like shut the door and nobody would enter. I was in a vacuum. But bear in mind that you're gonna share the same exam room with 20-something people. So you wanna be prepared for all the possible distractions. And sometimes he would even like mumble stuff. He was reading something. He didn't read it out loud, apparently. He was making this like almost undetectable sound with his lips. I'm pretty sure I was the only one who could hear this murmuring sound that he made during the exam. And then things just got worse. There was a coffee break, and after the coffee break, he actually took out some like white pills
and he started to crash these pills on the desk.
And then he drank it with his coffee. And I knew all this without even having to lift my eyes.
Because I heard it all.
So as the writing task is the last task of the day, he said to the students,
if you finish writing, you can leave first. You don't need to wait until other people finish to leave the exam rooms.
30 minutes into the task, there were already people finishing their 2 writing pieces. I don't know how people do that. And as a rule goes, you cannot take away the paper for draft, and the teacher in the classroom is supposed to destroy your draft. And he couldn't just wait until everybody finish the writing task and destroy all these draft paper all together. He would tear their draft paper like this each time somebody left. Can you imagine hearing this for like 1 hour when you were brainstorming how to write the perfect piece, but nobody really stood up and argued with him or anything? I bet that tearing sound was bothering most people, and each time I heard this tearing noise, it made me realize how slow I was in writing. So the takeaway of my experience is that if you are this kind of person who gets distracted easily during the exam especially, prepare your own set of earplugs because they are really gonna come in handy if unfortunately you encounter the same situation as me. And the second takeaway has something to do with reading. So ever since the second question of the first reading, I started to panic because I couldn't locate where that question was mentioned. I was so stubborn. I just kept going back to the text, and as the tick-tock goes on my watch, I was like, I will come back to this question later. I have to move on. I couldn't spend all my time on this one single question. So I made the call and I decided to just like let this go. So remember, it's not the end of the world if you got stuck in one of the questions. That's perfectly normal. And when that happens, you have to tell yourself again and again, you can do this. You've been practicing for so long. You've been trained for this moment. This is your moment to shine. So I think it's essential to adjust your mood during the exam. No matter what kind of noise is out there, no matter if you can find the answer to one of these questions, just tell yourself you can do this. And yeah, I think that's the highlight that I want to share about my whole exam experience. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I will also make another video about how I study Spanish, like in general, how I eventually improved my Spanish. Anyway, so yeah, that's the video for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao!